have
Randy,
a
we
safe
got a
space
problem.
wherever
What?
they go.
Reality's here.
But of course,
He's trying to
that
crash the
takes a
party.
lot of effort,
Reality?
a lot of resources.
Who let him in?
You're sad that people are mean? Well, I'm sorry. The world isn't one big liberal arts college campus.
I don't have an agenda like I want people to do something. I need them to do something. I want them to avoid irrationality.
I guess what interests me is just like what interests everybody else. It's just sort of what feels real.
That was totally wicked!
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Real News in the Morning. My name is Mr. Henry. My real name, by the way, is Grant, if you actually want to know. We have some new people join us from time to time. My actual name is Grant. They call me Mr. Henry on this program because, I don't know, man, I like to feign as if I'm objective from time to time, and I like to keep a consistent worldview, not always. By the way, David Shine Thompson over there is the other host of this program. He flies around like a ninja. Sometimes he's coming in from my top right. He's sometimes over here. Sometimes he's down over here. You don't know where he's coming from, man. But when he hits the mic hard. And let me do this real quick before I bring David Shine Thompson in here. Greatest Audience in the Nation appreciation segment. I'm going to say this a few times today. Not that part, but this part. We're going to have a few new listeners over the next couple of days, a few new watchers over the next couple of days. We do this thing in the beginning of this program called Greatest Audience in the Nation Appreciation. And it's just that, okay? Tell us what you're appreciative of. Tell us what you're encouraged about. Tell us what you need help with. Tell us what you need prayer concerns for. Tell us what you need good vibes sent your way about. If you have businesses in your area that are trying to innovate and stay alive, bring it to our attention. We'll bring them on the program. Anything that you need help with or concerned about or anything like that, throw it in the comments section of YouTube, Facebook, anything else like that as well. realnewsradio.live. realnewsradio.live is the best way to find all our sort of affiliate links there. We're on minds.com at Real News Hub, Real News Hub. We're on Mixer. We're on a bunch of places here. And I go through that list a little bit here during the Greatest Audience in the Nation appreciation segment as I bring my boy David Shine Thompson in, because that's what I'm appreciative of today, man. Y'all don't really realize the amount of effort that this guy's been putting in behind the scenes to grow this movement, to grow this community, to try and do what's right. And man, dude, honestly, it's sappy. It's a sappy way to start the program, but I'm being legit here, man. I'm appreciative of all the effort you've been putting on the back end here, man, to just really grow and try and make people aware of what it is we're doing here to progress with each other. So I appreciate you, buddy. How you doing this morning?
Well, I appreciate you too, Mr. Henry, and your serious, authoritative sounding name. I appreciate you. We had a good time. We streamed the D.C. Protests, and actually were protests last night. Mm-hmm. I didn't really see. I saw one. I can tell you, I watched for 7 hours. And I was only watching one camera, but I only saw one dude knock over one trash can, and I didn't see any police push anybody or hit anybody. There was some yelling, but that's a protest, right?
Right.
But overall, met a lot of nice people. We had thousands of people watching the stream last night, so thank you for all of them. And as far as Best Audience in the Nation appreciation, I want to wish Nick Crawford, a former contributor to the show, a happy birthday. If you happen to watch today, Nick. So, but Mr. Henry, enough of that. Let's get into the news.
One time, real quick as well, I just want to throw this sort of motto out there as you hear my dog saying hello to everyone in the background as well. If we have some new people that are watching these streams over the next couple of days here, sort of the motto, the reason why we do what we do here at Real News, we've said from day one, man, we want to create a community whereby we can have calm, cordial dialogue with one another. We can literally have a genuine exchange of ideas with those that we might tend to disagree with, so that one day, if we do have disagreements, it's disagreements amongst friends and not enemies. It's disagreements amongst neighbors and not enemies. It's disagreements amongst family and not enemies, right? Because at the end of the day, man, I'm telling you, man, family, friends, neighbors, all this stuff is for life, and you grow with each other. A couple other things I need help with here from the Real News audience. All right, so yesterday you saw me post this thing about HB 862. That is a bill pertaining to civil asset forfeiture. It's amended and carried by Representative Justin Lafferty. Great guy out there in the East Tennessee area. You'll see that linked at the top of the show notes again. quick thing there, top of the show notes, click the Evernote, best way to follow that right in the description of the video. That bill has been pushed to now June 9th. It was supposed to be voted on last night in the House Judiciary Committee at 5 p.m. last night. That has been pushed to June 9th next week. Same situation, though, okay? So we still need people's help. Contact the House Judiciary members. You can email them and just say, I would like you to vote yes on HB 862 if you want to, right? Just say that much. That's all you need. That's literally all you need, okay? You don't have to have some folder. If you want to explain why, you can. What that bill does, by the way, again, quick description. We don't currently have the ability in the state of Tennessee to show, we have two different court systems in the United States, right? Civil and criminal. In the civil system, if you lose your property through civil asset forfeiture, in Tennessee, we can't tell whether you were also convicted of a crime. There's not that. Their data is there. It's just not being reported on. And I can't tell you how hugely important it is to show if you lost your stuff in civil court, were you also charged with a crime? I know that sounds extremely simplistic, and it kind of is, which is why we need your help making sure that gets pushed through Judiciary Committee. Nashville property tax is still a thing as well. So just send a note out to those people. You'll see in the show notes the quick thoughts section. I honestly, man, like Shine, you can read through that and tell me at some point if you want me to get on that. Read that for yourself if you want to. It's just a quick thing that I've been thinking about over the last couple of days as to what this movement is about, what it means to me, and a few other things like that. Let me jump into some local stories here, though, man, because I kind of I'm in this stick right now of kind of trying to find some silver linings. And Sean, I really want to pull you on this one here in just a second too. And I'm thinking you'll see that the title of this program today is Tennessee COVID Update ? And yes, there are updates to the COVID numbers that we're seeing right now, but I put a question mark out there behind that to be slightly intriguing to the extent of like, is nobody's talking about this anymore, right? Like let's be blatantly honest here. Just nobody's talking about the COVID stuff anymore. Over the past week, now I get it. It's been overwhelmed, obviously, by the other stories at hand. But dude, you haven't seen updated numbers. You haven't seen mainstream media touch it. I don't do the Fox stuff all that much, but I don't know if Fox has touched it or CNN has touched it. Nobody's touched it. Nobody's touched it. Here's the quick updates in the state of Tennessee, by the way, and then I'll tell you what I think the silver lining is coming out of the fact that very few people are actually touching COVID updates. So here it is. Tennessee saw a sharp jump. This is coming from WATE. Tennessee saw a sharp jump in confirmed coronavirus cases on Tuesday. Cases were up by 821. That's a 3.5% increase. That's up to 24,375. This is coming from the Tennessee Department of Health. Now, deaths also jumped 3.8%. Deaths also jumped 3.8% from Monday to 381. That's an increase of 14. There have been so far 15,916 recoveries. That is fantastic news from this virus. The Department of Health has said there have been 1,792 people hospitalized, and get this number, bro. This is a staggering statistic here. 462,136 people have actually been tested. So there's the quick rundown of the numbers. Now, here's what I find interesting about the silver lining about the fact that nobody's reported on this, okay? It's an interesting development in the George Floyd situation in that no one has room, and I put room in the show notes today. Nobody has room to speak authoritatively on the COVID-19 stuff except for the scientists and doctors. Follow me for a minute here. That is from a perspective as far as it pertains to the media narrative. Now, Republicans have already said that it's not nearly as bad, that COVID-19 rather, is not nearly as bad as the stats might indicate, or alternatively, that the stats are actually not correct. Therefore, they apparently, by way of the media narrative, hear me out, this is the media narrative, we've been told that the media narrative now says that Republicans have no more room in an authoritative manner to criticize these current protests because we've already made the stance, essentially, that the COVID-19 stuff just isn't really a factor. It shouldn't be a factor. Reopening the economy was far more important. Now, and I say that, please follow, a lot of people are saying, no. I have a much more nuanced approach to that. I think we should reopen safely. You are correct. But you are also the anomaly as far as media is concerned. Media operates in the paradigm of black and white. Media operates in the paradigm of full-on spectrums of just far right or far left. They cannot deal with a nuanced approach. It is literally, I forget the word. It doesn't necessarily matter, but they're operating in the spectrums. You get what I'm saying? Now, Republicans have already said that it's not nearly as bad. Democrats, conversely, they've just ignored this topic entirely. Republicans don't have room to criticize. And if anything, they're just going to criticize Democrats' hypocrisy. But Republicans can't be taken legitimately to be concerned about that. Democrats, they haven't even mentioned the topic over the last week, meaning that they've lost credibility due to inconsistency. And if the numbers do spike in a week or 2 weeks from now, God forbid, we certainly do not want to see that. Absolutely, we do not want to see that. But if the numbers do spike in a week or 2 weeks from now, they certainly will not take blame for not continuing to warn against the dangers of COVID-19 during these protests. So here's the silver lining, Shannon. I want to bring you in for this. The silver lining, as I see it, this leaves room for only the scientists and the doctors to be the sole individuals that are left that may have, in fact, remained consistent during the entire time of this. And I think that's the way it should be. If we're being honest about what we hope to get out of some of these reporting, it should just be let the stats lead, let the consensus of the scientific the medical community, and I do make consensus from all sides. Let the consensus actually be for the medical and the scientific community. Don't give me your Democrat spin. Don't give me your Republican spin. I'm tired of it, dude. We're all tired of it. And I can't make heads or tails if it's coming from the WHO or the CDC or who's pushing it down through me. Just let the folks that are actually, the guy that punched his ticket, that literally just wrote up the report. Let me hear from that dude. The individual that literally just got done dealing with the person in the hospital. Let me hear from that person. I want to hear from them. And I think they're the only people left that have any credibility to speak on this. Tell me where we're coming from, Shine. What do you think about any of that?
Man, you're going to hate this, Mr. Henry.
You're
just going to absolutely hate this, by the way. You're just going to hate this because I love the story you're telling right now. I do. I love this. Go back to the experts. Forget the politicians. Mm-hmm. It's like saying, get the politicians out of the war and let the generals take care of it, you know?
Yes, right.
It's just like that.
Right?
And I distinctly remember a month ago, me and you having a yelling rant at the top of our lungs, basically saying, get us new experts.
We did a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Neil Ferguson probably cost the UK government billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars this year, right?
Mm.
People like Dr. Fauci cost us billions of dollars. I don't know. We'll see. It's like we'll know now. I will say this. We'll know now if the lockdown really needed to happen because if COVID was a really bad thing, it's going to be really bad now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I don't even know if I need experts, Grant. All I need to do is wait. Time will tell me if the experts are right. That's all I need. Because I don't know if I can count on these experts. That's what I love the story you're telling right now.
Yeah, and it's a fingers crossed story.
It would be really great. As you know, I'm only 34 years old. I don't pretend to know anything really, except for how to get this stream started. I can't even keep it going most of the time. But it would be really nice if someone who only knows how to start a stream could count on health experts, could count on economic experts, could count on political experts. It would be really great, honestly, Mr. Henry, if we didn't feel like we needed to do a news show because other people did it so much better, but they don't. Yeah. So that's why we're here. And I hope you're right, but I don't think you have any reason besides hope to believe that you are right.
Maybe that's my role in all this, man, is just to be sort of the perpetual optimist. And I think I'm totally fine with that. I'm settling into that role comfortably because I think the Facebook kind of tends to agree with you on this as well. Obviously, Kelly threw out a happy birthday for Nick going back to the beginning of the show. Sherry said she's a cool kid, by the way. Stefan just said that TYT actually is talking about it. I presume Stefan meant talking about the COVID update numbers, TYT, Young Turks Network. You find
Don't say their name.
YouTube. Sorry.
TYT is just fine.
If you don't know what he's talking about, apparently they're talking about it. But Kelly said, are we still including gunshot victims in these numbers? And Kelly also goes on to say, no, with a bunch of O's behind that. Media operates in lies and deceptive narrative. The experts have all been wrong, massively wrong. #CDC fraud. So I'm sorry, man. I think Facebook follows you, but you understand where I'm coming from in this, right? At a minimum, let me present it this way. At an absolute minimum, I think we could all agree that it would probably be a benefit to everyone if we removed Democrat and Republican spin from this narrative. At an absolute minimum, we could at least agree upon that. Now, subsequently, we could have a conversation about what is considered an expert and what is not, and which stuff is more source backed. And yes, we can get into the expert, but at least we could all follow with where I'm at. If we can get Democrat and Republican punditry out of this conversation, that would probably be better for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I think you can zoom out a little further and get even more context on experts and COVID and the way those things intersect. Look at what happened in Europe over the past 2 days.
Yeah, right? No, yeah.
In places where people were actually locking down. They didn't have a divided populace on whether or not they should be locked down or not. A very compliant populace in the EU. They were all out protesting.
In the thousands.
And they've been standing on top of their moral high horses, on their tippy toes, pointing down at the United States. And I'm not going to sit here and beat anybody up because this is a time of tumult. Tumult, is that the way you say it? Tumultuousness. It's very rough, and people are going to have high emotions. But I think from the vantage point we're at now, looking back over the past few months, even our government leaders really didn't take COVID that seriously. And I don't know why all this happened. And the people who were telling us to take it seriously over the past month, the people who were a week and a half ago telling people to wear masks or don't go to protests because they could be killing their grandmother or something like that, they've all stopped saying that. And really, like at this point, Grant, it's like, I'm going to listen to the Real News audience. I'm going to listen to you. And I'm going to use my reason because I don't know where the baseline is anymore. Because anyone who's been telling us with that authoritative, moral, mommy tone, if you don't do what I tell you to do, you're killing grandmother, they no longer have any credibility because they have been encouraging everything that's been going on the past few days. And not saying they shouldn't. I'm not saying they have to be consistent. But they didn't even acknowledge it during that, and they won't acknowledge after it that they were ever wrong. I mean, this is so much, and I'm going to stop after this because I've been going too long, but I really feel like it's 1984 in the way that we're at war with East Asia, and then we wake up tomorrow and it's like we were never at war with East Asia. It's like COVID-19 is going to kill you unless you do exactly what I say, and then tomorrow they're going to say, man, COVID-19 was never going to kill you. Why are you being a conspiracy theorist? It's weird. But that's all I'll say on it.
I will say, man, my hope is coming. It's centered from a place of as Shine, if you could, man, that first national story. It's under the feel good section there, Santa Monica SWAT officer. That YouTube video, if you go ahead and pull that up, that's what I'm transitioning into here. My sense of hope and optimism and stuff. It's a little bit about who I am, but it's also coming from a place of some of the stories that we started this entire progression of the Real News, coming back on Facebook, coming back on YouTube, doing this. It started from an idea of during these periods of strife and turmoil. And almost if you're lost in the wilderness, if you will, that's when humanity tends to grow the most. I mean, it comes from a period of, a thought line of if a species is on the brink of extinction, and I'm not saying we are, but sometimes it feels that way. If the species is on the brink of extinction, they're never really more apt to evolve than at that particular point in time, right? And I do think that because it seems like we're just on top of fault lines after fault lines, and it's just earthquake after earthquake every single day. You've seen those memes coming around, right? Of like 2020, January this, February this. It's just month after month after month, thing after thing after thing. And then when you forgot about all of it, then you got murder hornets to bring us back in, and now we're in this stuff. Out of that, man, comes growth and people really just thinking about what's important and burning off what they don't need. And I think some of this stuff, man, is finally coming to head. Yesterday, Sean and I both said, arguably, admittedly, for very different reasons, but Sean and I both agreed that calmness, comfortability, not normalcy. I'm really disliking that term. Because it's antithetical to the entire rant I just went on a second ago about progress. Not normalcy, but a state that we're all comfortable with loving our brothers and sisters again. I and Shine both said we think we return to that quicker than most people in media said. And I think last night was a good example of that, all right? Now, again, I said admittedly for two different reasons, and we'll flesh some of that out more later on today. But go ahead and show them that video, Shine, of if we got that pulled up. Go ahead and show them that entire thing. I think this is a little bit of what I was talking about, man. People are wanting more stories like this. This is going to get us back to a sense of loving on one another again. Go ahead and play that, man.
We better stop this. All we want is a dialogue. Look at that.
Site in Santa Monica. Take a look over the weekend. There was a hug there and a handshake between SWAT officer Scott McGee and a protester there. Amidst all the cheers there, some in the crowd read his uniform, started chanting his name. Officer McGee as well. When they read the name, you could see his face was covered, but they could feel the moment, chanting his name continuously into the crowd.
We need to see more of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm.
Yeah. Okay. See, did you hear the commentator at the end of that? We need to see more of this. Yeah, that's exactly where all of the world is right now. That's exactly where humanity at large is right now. We need to see more of this. And in part, what I think they too, I think what we'll recognize is even law enforcement is saying we need to see more of this. I think a lot of law enforcement is looking at their roles in all of this and saying, like, dude, I don't feel comfortable sometimes with what we're being asked to do. I don't feel comfortable with the show. I don't feel comfortable watching these videos of, let's be completely blatant, the police brutality that's been going on, not just for the last couple of days, but what we have to respond with, the violence we have to respond with, right? Because on both sides, there's clips that you could pull to accentuate your argument. You following me? On both sides of this, there are clips you can pull for police brutality and pure manifest destruction. I mean, just absolute chaos on both sides. And I think even what police officers are starting to find a little bit, man, is like, okay, the only solution to this is not more of the same with that. The only solution is trying to do a little bit of this, pull back, understand that there has to be a communication point. There has to be maybe a little bit of give and take. And Shine, I think just to have a little bit of a light note here as well, go ahead and pull up that clip of Justin Trudeau also. As I'm leading into what's going to be a very, very tragic story that happened last night, or rather Tuesday morning, depending on how you look at it here. Go ahead and pull that clip of Justin Trudeau. It's the next story down. Trudeau was asked a question yesterday, and I think Trudeau gives a perfect demonstration where a lot of us are right now. And in part, it was due to the way that the question was phrased and put to him. I get that. But go ahead and go ahead and play that clip, man. It's very, very short, but play that clip. And if I laugh, by the way, let me say this real quick. Sorry, Sean. I know I do that to Sean all the time. I say play the clip and then I cut it off. That's my bad, totally. If I laugh here, which I'm probably going to, I'm only laughing out of the immediate ability to empathize, because this is exactly where I've been over the last couple of days as well. And I hope if everyone in the audience is honest, this is exactly where you've been too. Play that clip though, buddy.
Hi, Prime Minister Tom Perry, CBC. You've been reluctant to comment on the words and actions of the U.S. president, but we do have Donald Trump now calling for military action against protesters. We saw protesters tear gas yesterday to make way for a presidential photo op. I'd like to ask you what you think about that, and if you don't want to comment, what message do you think you're sending?
We all watch in horror and consternation what's going on in the United States. It is a time to pull people together, but it is a time to listen. It is a time to learn what injustices continue despite progress over years and decades. But it is a time for us as Canadians to recognize that we too have our challenges.
All right. So, dude, like, you heard me chuckling a little bit, but is this not where y'all have been a little bit too? Like, it's funny to make fun of Justin Trudeau because he's a world leader. He should be slightly more poised than that. I get it. But if we're being
I understand where he's coming from. He's like, I want to say certain things, but I need the United States to buy our dairy products. And Trump is the kind of guy that would cut off the dairy products if I make a statement right here. It forced him to try to make the best statement possible, to be honest.
It did. It did.
I feel for him, honestly. I was feeling bad for him and laughing at the same time.
I'm feeling for him too, man, because I would have handled it the same way. And again, in part, it was the way that journalist phrased the question of, hey, do you want to respond to what Trump's doing down there? Basically the Insurrection Act. I'm adding words to this, but this was the feeling of the question. Do you want to respond to what the United States is doing? Like, it's getting real crazy down there. Stuff's hitting the fan a little bit. Insurrection Act is about to be enacted here. Do you want to comment on that? Or do you want to comment on the fact about you remaining silence could be a comment in and of itself? It's like, what, man? You literally just asked me darned if you do, darned if you don't style question right there. And I think, man, you saw like these bells going off of like cognitive dissonance. I want to say something, but I can't. Like, you're stuck. You're just stuck. Because frankly speaking, people are still trying to figure this out. And one more time, let me push the narrative that I brought in yesterday. I do not think our leaders are going to solve this for us because they're still trying to figure it out. We're all still trying to figure this out, man. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with being stuck in a crisis and in the midst of that crisis, trying to figure out what possibly brought you here, maybe, and how to get yourself out of it. That is kind of the point of the crisis. That is the point of the growth process itself. I think that is a healthy place to be. It doesn't feel comfortable. Those 22 seconds did not feel comfortable. But I think it's a healthy place to be. And in some weird sense, I think we should kind of embrace how uncomfortable it is. Because when you're uncomfortable, you're vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable, someone else is vulnerable as well. And you start to learn stuff, man. I don't have a problem with it. Daniel just said, I hate to give him credit, but intelligent people take time. Yes, exactly. He said, Daniel just said in Facebook, I hate to give him credit, but intelligent people take the time it takes to give a real answer. 100%, man. 100%. And I think that's why it's so nice, is because we can all sort of chuckle along. And I would like to say I was laughing with him. He wasn't laughing, but it was that thing is I can empathize, bro. I can empathize. You need to take the time. You need to take the time to figure out what we're in. And we need to take the time right now to try and take pause a little bit to discover how bad some of this stuff has become. I think that's what Daniel's making a note of. You saw this story last night, CNN headline here, retired St. Louis police officer Captain David Dorn murdered by a looter outside of a pawn shop. This is why Daniel Snowden saying on Facebook, you need to take the time to respond to this stuff because what our leaders are saying is important. Because they are leaders. They do not have the solutions yet either. But if you just spout off at the mouth, man, you're going to get stuff wrong from time to time. And this period of uncomfortable silence is what's going to get us over the hump to the next one. The story we're probably looking at right now, I'm sure Sean will pull it up on the screen here in just a second. Let me say here ahead of time too, if you follow this along in the show notes, in the Evernote, I really struggled with this decision, but I did actually include the video. And I only did that. I put a very clear warning on there. And I would strongly advise for those that have not broached into that world of just graphic imagery, I would probably advise don't do it to yourself. Now, I do think there's something to the idea of, I mean, if you stare into that abyss long enough, right? I also think to some extent it might be healthy to I don't know, man. Oh, we definitely can't play it. No, absolutely cannot play it. I put it out there for people that have already broached that, Shine. You know what I'm saying? Like I put it out there for people that have already entered that part of the world that just need to have an understanding of how severe this stuff is. It is beyond graphic. I mean, it's an David Dorn, 77 years old. He was killed while responding to an alarm at a pawn shop overnight on Monday. St. Louis Police Department announced in a news conference, they announced Tuesday. A retired police captain fatally shot during a looting situation in St. Louis was passionate about helping young people and would have forgiven those behind the violence on the city streets, his son says. Man, that statement there kind of gets you a little choked up. I just found myself doing it. He would have forgiven those behind the violence. This is a quote from the St. Louis Police Chief, John Hayden. He said that throughout the night, we made 25 arrests for various charges. And then there were 55 businesses counting, 55 businesses and counting that were burglarized and had property damage. One of those businesses had one of our retired Captain David Dorn, who retired after 38 years. During the looting process, David was exercising law enforcement that he learned here. Chief Hayden said that Dorn had been a fine captain who'd been very well liked and looked up to by many of the department's younger officers. Now, this is where I got a little bit confused sometimes because I couldn't quite understand yet. I watched the video when he was in civilian clothing, and I didn't know. This story reporting by CNN made it seem as if he was still on the job, but they kept saying retired. Dorn had been killed around 2:30 a.m. Tuesday, dying on the sidewalk in front of the pawn shop. He'd been providing security for this pawn shop. And the situation ends up reflecting that he was just trying to do a favor for a friend, possibly even a family member. When this alarm would go off at the pawn shop, because he was a retired police officer, he knew what he was doing. He had respect in the community. He would go respond to this alarm from time to time. He'd just continually help out his community. He had a calling. On this particular night, that's what he was doing. He was responding to a pawn shop and got shot by a looter. And in this video, you can actually hear someone over top just screaming for a TV, over a TV. You killed this man, grandfather, member of our community, leader of our community, over a TV. And that's why I'm saying, man, this violence is unsustainable. The response by the American government to enact some type of insurrection act, if it leads to similar style of violence, that would also be unsustainable, because it only breeds the same thing. Dorn's son, his name is Brian Powell. He told the station here that Dorn had been a father of 5, a grandfather to 10. Dorn had been passionate about helping your young people, he said, and believed his father, quote again, would have forgiven those behind it. Going on to say, because he was real big on trying to talk to youth and mentoring young people as well, he tried to get them on the straight and narrow and everything. The person who pulled the trigger, again, still quoting from this individual, the person who pulled the trigger, my message to them would be just simply, just step back from what you're doing. Know the real reason that you're protesting. Let's do it in a positive manner. We don't have to go out and loot and do all these other things. And I want to, Sean, if you can, ma'am, pull up real quick this video that's going viral now. This woman that just gives they call it a powerful speech. I don't know technically I don't know the better term besides powerful speech, but it's something better than a powerful speech. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, I don't know did they hear you say that? Say that. I
said after watching it myself, I would call it a powerful critique. And leave it at that. Not a critique towards this or that. It's just a powerful critique from her perspective in her community.
It is a powerful critique and a pleading with her community to do just, can we not? Can we stop? Can we love? Can we figure this out? If you got that pulled up, man, go ahead and play this video from this individual. It's a little long. We'll play enough to at least get the point out, but go ahead, Sean.
If you're watching with children, mute it. There is some language. I'll try to avoid it, but I think the message is newsworthy and that we should play it. But if you're around young children, you may want to go ahead and mute it for a second. Just a graphic language warning.
These are people who live in public housing, and you just made a melee. You took down bus routes. There are people who live in this neighborhood who have to go back uptown to work. And you are here profiting off of our pain. So you protest every single last one of you. You think about what it's like to be a black woman in this neighborhood who lives with people in public housing, who now have to walk through, who bag your groceries, who drop off your food, who defend you, who go uptown to a hospital to serve this community. So as you're out here, be responsible. Have a plan. You can protest all you want, but the I just saw take place. I know there are people out here, homeless people, who rely on those banks to charge their phone. And you think it's okay to take down a neighborhood? You don't see corporations here. There are human beings that live in this neighborhood. You do this in Harlem, you do this in Brooklyn, and I swear on everything. These people in this neighborhood deserve better. And I'm not talking about the gentrification. I'm not talking about the students who come here and pay cash to go to NYU. I am talking about the people who go to a methadone clinic down the street. And you think this is a protest? I gave my blood, sweat, and tears for this country. I served this country for 10 years. Thank you. So when you think about this anger and this rage, because there's a way to get answers, every single last one of you better be registered to vote. Every single last one of you.
We are. Yeah.
So do me a favor, for every single person out here protesting, remember, there's 3 homeless men who rely on that as a charging station. And what? Will it even work now?
You can
For
get
the
it there,
sake
man.
of what? So you
Yeah, I mean, dude, the passion, not just the passion, but the how genuine she was in delivery.
And the authority. I mean, it was the authority.
And the authority. And it was just overflowing from her. It was just an outpouring of her existence, right? It just kept getting better and better and better. And it was her. It was genuine. It wasn't Democrat, Republican. It wasn't blue, red. It wasn't black, white. It was just what needs to be focused on right now. Like, this is my community, man. Like, we're living together here. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? You're not burning down some image of the system. You're breaking a place where homeless people charge their phones. You're destroying the community that I live in. You're messing around with our citizens here. Do y'all live here? Because I live here, she said.
Eric asked on Facebook, can you post the link to this? Everything we show on this show is in the Evernote link in the description. If you go to the Evernote link in the description, you can follow along like it's the program at church.
Hey, pull up that Evernote link real quick, man, because we mention that quite often, and you actually show it on the program from time to time. But just pull up the Evernote link and just show them kind of what that looks like. And this is a little bit of Mr. Henry's brain here, man. The blues, the reds, the highlights. I mean, this is the way that I prep for the show, that Shine gives me links, that we throw this stuff together.
It's at the very top of the description of the videos. Yeah. You click the link and then you get all this stuff every day. So if you're looking for a link to a story or a video, it's in this. And it's awesome that Grant does this. It's more work than I put into the show, that's for sure.
Well, and I will say, man, the only reason why I'm doing it is because there'd be no way that we could put this program together without something like that. At least the way that I think through some of the stuff, man, because I'm trying to cut out the nonsense fluff, the opinion that you see, and especially the ads. Dude, most of the reason why I do this is just because if I'm pulling up these articles on my computer, the ads alone are going to destroy the CPU usage. So anyways, man. But look, you see this lady on the streets of New York City and just saying the stuff that needs to be said that should have been said a long time ago. Tell me how you feel about that in Facebook here. Let's see. Stacy just said, this is someone who should run for office. I hear you. Eric gave us a bunch of thumbs up right now. Kelly said she's right.
See, but where were the authorities 72 hours ago saying
that's
this?
The question, right?
I mean, why did it take a woman getting her neighborhood destroyed for someone to say this and her not be called a partisan? Or a racist, or some of the words that I will not say on any of these streams, that when someone gets out of line when they have a certain skin color. You get what I'm saying? Like, she's not being accosted for this, and because she's right, and she shouldn't be. But where were the leaders? And I mean any leaders. I'm talking about city council, mayors, police chiefs, pastors, anybody. Where were people saying that? Why did it take a regular person getting filmed by a mainstream media source after, not before, but after her neighborhood got messed up? You know, it's sad.
Actually, man, like, that's why you're so great at this, buddy. That's an angle of this I didn't even think of. It literally just hit me I don't know why I just glossed over the part, but the fact that you just said, why did it take a mainstream media source filming her? That was clearly high quality. I'm talking like shoulder mounted camera footage, right? I mean, the B-rolls, cutting it together. I mean, all that stuff that was done, man. It wasn't, I don't know, unless I'm seeing
someone with talent put that video together.
Yes, right.
Why did it take the city council of the Bronx? Where were the representatives? Where are the representatives at? And why aren't they saying the reasonable things? Why are they saying the partisan things? When the outcomes could be extreme violence or death.
And to your point, buddy, look at the story that's coming out now. This is the link that's from that story we just left. Same underneath the national stories headline there. Skip the Apple story. I'll get to that in a second. But look to Shine's point. Look at this now. This is a Yahoo Finance headline. Cuomo threatens to displace New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio. It's not just Shine that's saying this stuff now, man. It's Democrat leadership as well. It's New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is now saying the exact same thing of like, where were you? Why? How did we get here? And who said this in Facebook? Give me just a second here. Let me find this. This hits it perfectly. Yeah, Eric just said in Facebook. I think for the most part, the looters are not actually protesting. They're just opportunists. Yes, they're provocateurs. They're looking to exploit a vulnerable situation. 100%. Now, Daniel says because politicians aren't that smart. Granted, valid, I'll give you that one. But I think Eric and Shine are hitting a good point here, man. The looters are not protesters. You could make a hard line. You could delineate between the two and say protesting, that is an inherent God-given right. The First Amendment just articulates it. It just describes a little bit of a small portion of it. It is given from our creator. And if you don't want to say creator, fine. It's given from something greater than ourselves. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo now is coming, unleashing a scathing rebuke. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio on Tuesday for his response to the riots that have taken place throughout the city for the last several days as peaceful protests against police brutality descend into violence and destruction. New York City's getting a little crazy. This is his quote. You can read it on the screen right there in front of you. What happened in New York City was inexcusable. I have offered the National Guard. The mayor has said he can handle it with the NYPD. My option is to displace the mayor of New York City and bring in the National Guard as the governor in a state of an emergency and basically take over the mayor's job. You have to displace the mayor. Now, let me do a quick comparative analysis here for y'all, okay? Like just a day or two ago, and this is me trying to remain objective. It's going to be sounding a little bit pro-Trump, but it is what it is. It's just taking the facts as I'm seeing them in front of me. Just a day ago, everyone apparently had a major problem with Trump doing this Insurrection Act, myself included, and I still do. I don't know if I've clearly articulated the reasons behind that. If I have not, tell me in the Facebook notes and I'll describe more. In general, I want to see communities solve their problems first and then branch out to some massive overarching solution. It's at my core, man. I really want to see it. I would like to see more people. It's going to sound weird, and I might have to parse this, but I would like to see more people be Second Amendment supporters before I would like to see the Insurrection Act. That's where it is. Back to the point at hand. So just a few days ago, we saw Trump enact the Insurrection Act, and it was a major point of conflict because he was basically taking over the jobs of the governor, right? He was basically saying, like, even if the governors don't want it, this act gives me the power to just like instill it in your city and shut that down. They had a problem with it. Meanwhile, Democrats didn't necessarily have a problem with Trump shutting down the economy when it came to the COVID stuff, but now they have a problem with shutting down the protests. That is something you need a logic roadmap to work yourself through the inconsistencies there. It doesn't matter. Well, look what's happening now, bro. Now, I suppose if you shrink it down to one level more, it's a little bit better for me, but it's essentially the exact same presentation, is it not? Where Cuomo, the governor, is coming to the mayor of New York City and saying, you can't handle it, so I'm going to handle it for you. I'm going to displace you as the mayor of New York City. He's okay, dude. So Shine, say that. Did they hear you? Say it again, man. I think you're right.
It's literally the same thing Trump said. It's literally the same thing. How is that any different than Trump saying if the governors don't want it, I'm going to put the National Guard there? Now, but is whataboutism a way to solve community problems? No,
I hear you.
It's not. It's not. But can we have civil disagreements if people don't do it in good faith and don't acknowledge either inconsistency, hypocrisy, and things like that? No, we can't have civil discourse. That's when things de-evolve into violence, is because people actually know, and with some certainty, that talking is useless. Because talking is useless when someone says what a rule for thee and not for me, right? And I think the Cuomo thing, I think he's right to say that. I think he's right to say it. I don't know if he's right to do it, but he's right to say it. And I will say, as someone who watched the D.C. protest last night for 7 hours, bro, I was on it for 7 hours playing this on Real News. I can tell you there was a major, major difference amongst the organizers all the way down to the regular people who were protesting. Them knowing that if this got out of control, it's not going to mean a few buildings burning down. It could mean hundreds of protesters being either hurt or shot or gassed or whatever. Them knowing that there was a point, a Rubicon they could cross, kept everyone safer all night. Everyone. They didn't even let people fight one-on-one. Like if there was a fist fight, they removed people from the crowd. If there was someone trying to get people to shake the fences, they removed them from the crowd. And I don't think that's because people were just trying to be the best people they could. I think it was the underlying threat of if this gets out of control, I'm not here to lose my life. I'm just here to spend an evening.
First Amendment.
Well, no matter what it is, they're not there to sacrifice their life.
Right.
And people actually said that constantly, and it was a lot of it was young women saying, "I'm not here to die tonight. Stop shaking the fence."
Eric just said in Facebook, politicians aren't smart, but they are clever when it comes to screwing people over. Yeah, when it comes to screwing people over, said they're not smart, but they're clever. Very few of them have our interests in mind, and that's only the second to campaigning. I really didn't want to pause here, but that's such a good comment. Shine, can I put you on the spot here, man, and skip over the next story real quick in the show notes and go to skip over that gun sales spike. That's the next point I want to make, but go to right underneath it. There it says our cameras were rolling as Representative Elliott. Do you see that? Do you see the Twitter link right below that? Click on that video because this is pretty much this is exactly what Eric just mentioned in Facebook. Let me know when you have that comment up here, and I'll read the Facebook comment again. Let me know when you have that video up. Here's what Eric said real quick before we play this. Politicians are not smart, but they are clever when it comes to screwing people over. Very few of them have our interest in mind. Highlight this section for everybody. And that's only second to campaigning. Shine, play this clip, and I think context will fill it in there for you. Go ahead and play this.
Appreciate you coming, but he's there with me. I'll announce everybody. I appreciate you coming, but then I got to then go down the list, and it's just too many folks here.
If I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care.
Say that again?
If I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care.
No. Don't do that to me. We're not going to do this. We're not going to politicize it. Everybody has a primary. I'm sorry.
You want to know why I say this is the greatest audience in the nation? That was totally organic what just happened. Eric brought up this point that some of this stuff is second to them campaigning. And it's just hey, man, I so happen to have a story right here beside this that it proves that point. Exactly. Man, I mean, you couldn't have scripted it better than how that just played out.
Hey, can you tell people I'm going to be here so that they'll vote for me? Because otherwise, this isn't really worth my time.
Right, dude. It's not funny. I don't know other way to react to it, man.
Well, you laugh or you cry. That's all you can do, right? You laugh because the other option would be getting extremely angry and knocking that expensive microphone over.
Yeah. By the way, this is a congressman that represents parts of the Bronx, Westchester counties in New York. He's New York 16th district.
Not anymore, he doesn't.
Not anymore, he doesn't.
Not anymore, he's not.
Oh, man. Is that not exactly what's happening right now, though? Yeah. I mean, goodness gracious. If I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care. Now, obviously, I don't have to fill in this blank for you. Obviously, he's come back and it's since walked that statement back. He's trying. I don't know how you contextualize that statement. I don't know how you cover up for that. But he's trying to. In some sense, he's saying if I didn't have a primary, I think his response was something effective if I didn't have a primary, I wouldn't care. I don't know, dude. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what his response is. Why am I even trying to give the guy credit for what a response is? How do you respond your way out of something like that?
Yeah, don't put words in his mouth that make him look better. Just let it sit. Just let it sit. Hey, I want to just throw in here because we never get it. We never touch the YouTube comments, but Zach on YouTube says the show has evolved so much for the better because there's less chains tied to this format. Y'all are awesome. So thank you so much, Zach, for watching on YouTube. That's Real News Radio on YouTube.
Zach's awesome, man. A good guy. Really good guy out there. Daniel went on to say, too, getting back to the story at hand, I just thought that was a good little quick tangent there to prove Eric's point. Daniel said, Cuomo is not being hypocritical for feeling like more state intervention is appropriate. He's a fascist. Funny comment to follow up. Daniel said, Cuomo and Trump are both New York Democrats. Yeah, a little bit. That's true. All right. I hear you. They're both New Yorkers for sure. Everyone can agree with that. Now, here's where I want to get to as well, because this leads us perfectly into the statement that I made just a little while ago and the story we're about to bring up. I kind of casually slipped in that statement there a second ago that even during periods of tumultuous, volcanic bubble over, I mean, even during periods of borderline, just I'm trying to stay away from the word anarchy because it's conflated with anarcho-capitalism and it's just not a good thing to do.
Yeah, but when you're using it, you're using it accurately. There's a bunch of people who aren't recognizing the rule of law, which is actually the definition of anarchy. Not some. I'm not trying to be mean to anybody who watches our stream and calls themselves anarchist, but you have kind of a commercial retail definition of anarchy. The actual definition of anarchy is not recognizing the law. And that's what thousands of people have been doing over the past 92 hours.
Well, I kind of slipped in that statement there a little while ago about whatever we're in right now, that I would prefer to see community solutions first before I would like to see the Insurrection Act come through. I would prefer to see, and I actually, I'm not sure I'm sure everyone picked up on it because I made a big point of it, at least a big point of recognizing that I said this, that I would prefer to see people take on more Second Amendment rights before I would like to see military rolling through our streets with like military style vehicles and pumping, paintball pellets filled with mace. And I know that's a weird way to put it, but I'm just like, I can't back on that. Like that's exactly how I feel. And I feel a little bit better when I read a comment from Stacey here, and when I read this article from National Review, a very conservative leaning article, that it's not just me. The market factors are dictating that is what's happening. Think about it this way, okay? The market forces are dictating that is where we are going. If we ask, and this is essentially the conversation we are about to have, and I've been consistent on this from day one, from the kneeling controversy in the NFL on down, I've been very consistent about this point. If you ask to remove some power from the police state, that will inevitably create a void or a vacuum of where that power used to exist. Now, to fill that, it's only going to be filled with one of a few things. More crime, which nobody is going to take. More power. Possibly communities solving those problems for themselves a little bit. In the UK, for example, okay, there's a reason why when British police officers show up, it takes them a little bit of time to quell a riot, or a little bit of time to put down. I mean, we remember the stories, y'all, of a guy running around with a machete and chopping people up in the middle of the street, and it took them, beyond several minutes to stop